Dr. Zixthar rushed down the corridor of Harmony Prime, his three-toed feet making rapid clicking sounds against the floor. His four eyes darted around wildly, and his hearts were beating far too fast for comfort. In all his years of medical practice, he had never encountered anything like this. A patient walking around talking normally, while carrying enough toxins to kill a small army. He burst into his supervisor's office without bothering to announce himself. Dr. Milrana looked up from her desk, her feathered crest rising in surprise. She was a Verath, bird-like and elegant, with keen eyes that missed nothing. Zixthar, what is the meaning of this interruption? Her voice was sharp but not unkind. I need emergency consultation, Zixthar said, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. I have a human patient, Jake Morrison, and his blood work shows impossible results. Milrana's crest flattened against her head, a sign of concern. Impossible how? 47 lethal toxins, Zixthar said, pulling up the scan results on his datapad and showing them to her. Class 7 emergency levels. Multiple compounds that would cause immediate death in most coalition species. Yet the human sits in my examination room, perfectly healthy, asking if he can get lunch soon. The supervisor took the datapad and studied the results carefully. Her sharp eyes moved across the data, and Zixthar watched as her feathers began to ruffle, another sign of agitation. You ran this 3 times? She asked. 3 times. Identical results each time. These readings show caffeine at levels that would cause cardiac arrest in a Quellan, Milrana said slowly. Capsaicin derivatives that would burn through Sivian tissue. Ethanol metabolites that would shut down a Kreller's nervous system. Theobromine concentrations that would kill my entire family. She looked up at him. And you say the human appears healthy? Completely. He claims he feels fine. Milrana stood up quickly. We need a full medical team. If these readings are accurate, we may be looking at a completely unknown aspect of human biology. Or... She hesitated. Or what? Or we may have accidentally recruited a species that is toxic to the rest of the coalition. 10 minutes later, a full medical team had assembled in the examination room. Jake looked around at the 6 different alien species crowding into the space, all of them staring at him like he was a bomb about to explode. He gave them a small wave. Hey guys, this seems like a lot of people for a basic checkup. Dr. Milrana stepped forward, her voice measured and calm. Mr. Morrison, I am Dr. Milrana, supervisor of medical services on this station. We have some concerns about your test results. Yeah, Dr. Zixthar mentioned something about toxins, Jake said, but honestly I feel great. Maybe your machine just does not work right for humans. That is one possibility we are exploring, Milrana said diplomatically. However, our scanners are designed to work with thousands of different biochemistries. We would like to run some additional tests with your permission, Jake shrugged. Sure, no problem. Whatever you need. For the next hour, Jake was poked, prodded, scanned, and analyzed by every piece of medical equipment on the station. He answered questions about his medical history, his diet, and his daily routine. The doctors spoke quietly among themselves in languages the translator could not handle, gesturing at displays and checking data repeatedly. Finally, Dr. Milrana approached him again. Mr. Morrison, can you tell us what you consumed today before coming here? Sure, Jake said, thinking back. I woke up around 6, had 3 cups of coffee with my breakfast, made some scrambled eggs, toast, and a couple of sausages. Oh, and I had a protein shake after my workout. Several doctors made alarmed noises. Zixthar was furiously taking notes. 3 cups of coffee, he asked. That would be approximately 900 milligrams of caffeine. Sounds about right, Jake agreed. I like my coffee strong. And this protein shake, Milrana said carefully. What was in it? Jake counted on his fingers. Protein powder, obviously. Some creatine, a multivitamin, fish oil, and I think some amino acids. Oh, and I blended it with milk and a banana. More alarmed noises from the medical team. A small alien that looked like a floating jellyfish actually moved backward. Away from Jake. Mr. Morrison, Zixthar said slowly. Creatine is classified as a performance-enhancing compound that is banned in coalition sports. Fish oil contains omega-3 fatty acids that are toxic to 7 different species. And milk. He checked his datapad. Milk contains lactose, which is a known poison to most adult mammals in the galaxy. Jake stared at him. Are you serious? You guys cannot drink milk? Most species lose the ability to process lactose after infancy, Milrana explained. It is extremely unusual for an adult to continue producing the enzyme needed to digest it. Do you mean to tell me that adult humans can consume milk without becoming sick? Yeah, most of us can, Jake said. I mean, some people are lactose intolerant, but that is pretty rare. Wait, are you telling me that drinking milk makes me weird? Drinking milk as an adult makes you extremely unusual by galactic standards, Milrana said. But that is not our primary concern right now. She pulled up a holographic display showing Jake's blood chemistry. These readings show multiple alkaloids, heavy metals, and synthetic compounds. Can you explain these? Jake leaned forward to look at the display, though the medical terminology meant nothing to him. I do not know what half of that stuff is. Can you be more specific? Zixthar pointed to different sections of the display. This shows residual capsaicin. Did you consume anything spicy recently? Oh yeah, Jake said, his face brightening. I had some hot sauce on my eggs this morning. The station's food synthesizer actually makes pretty decent hot sauce. Not as good as the stuff back home, but not bad. You intentionally consumed capsaicin? Asked the jellyfish alien, its voice bubbling through the translator. The chemical compound that causes a burning pain response? Well, yeah, Jake said, confused by the question. That is what makes it taste good. The medical team exchanged glances that clearly said they thought Jake might be insane. Dr. Milrana cleared her throat. And these readings here show traces of ethanol in its metabolites. Have you consumed alcohol recently? Jake thought about it. I had a couple of beers with some of the crew last night. We were playing poker. I only had 2, maybe 3 beers though. I was not drunk or anything. You consumed ethanol for recreation? Zixthar asked, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. Ethanol is a solvent. It is used in industrial cleaning and as a fuel source. Yeah, but it is also in beer, Jake said. And wine. And whiskey. We have been drinking alcohol for thousands of years. A doctor that looked like a large insect clicked its mandibles together. Your species voluntarily consumes a corrosive solvent that impairs neural function? When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Jake admitted. But yeah, basically. Dr. Milrana raised a feathered hand to silence the other doctors. Mr. Morrison, do you understand what we are telling you? According to coalition medical standards, you should have died several times over just from your breakfast this morning, yet you show no signs of distress whatsoever. Jake looked around at all the worried alien faces. So what you are saying is that my normal Tuesday morning routine would kill most of you? Not just kill, Zixthar said quietly. The amount of toxins you have ingested would cause immediate system failure in most species. Painful, rapid death. Jake sat back on the examination table processing this information. That is really weird. I mean, I knew humans were different, but I did not think we were that different. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Milrana said, her voice very serious. I think we need to have a much longer conversation about human biology. And I think we need to scan every other human on your ship. Dr. Zixthar rushed down the corridor of Harmony Prime, his 3-toed feet making rapid clicking sounds against the floor. His 4 eyes darted around wildly, and his hearts were beating far too fast for comfort. In all his years of medical practice, he had never encountered anything like this. A patient walking around, talking normally, while carrying enough toxins to kill a small army. He burst into his supervisor's office without bothering to announce himself. Dr. Milrana looked up from her desk, her feathered crest rising in surprise. She was a Verith, bird-like and elegant, with keen eyes that missed nothing. Zixthar, what is the meaning of this interruption? Her voice was sharp but not unkind. I need emergency consultation, Zixthar said, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. I have a human patient, Jake Morrison, and his blood work shows impossible results. Milrana's crest flattened against her head, a sign of concern. Impossible how? 47 lethal toxins, Zixthar said, pulling up the scan results on his datapad and showing them to her. Class 7 emergency levels. Multiple compounds that would cause immediate death in most coalition species. Yet the human sits in my examination room, perfectly healthy, asking if he can get lunch soon. The supervisor took the datapad and studied the results carefully. Her sharp eyes moved across the data, and Zixthar watched as her feathers began to ruffle, another sign of agitation. You ran this 3 times? She asked. 3 times. Identical results each time. These readings show caffeine at levels that would cause cardiac arrest in a Quellan, Milrana said slowly, capsaicin derivatives that would burn through simian tissue, ethanol metabolites that would shut down a Kreller's nervous system, theobromine concentrations that would kill my entire family. She looked up at him. And you say the human appears healthy? Completely. He claims he feels fine. Milorana stood up quickly. We need a full medical team. If these readings are accurate, we may be looking at a completely unknown aspect of human biology. Or, she hesitated. Or what? Or we may have accidentally recruited a species that is toxic to the rest of the coalition. 10 minutes later, a full medical team had assembled in the examination room. Jake looked around at the 6 different alien species crowding into the space, all of them staring at him like he was a bomb about to explode. He gave them a small wave. Hey guys, this seems like a lot of people for a basic checkup. Dr. Milrana stepped forward, her voice measured and calm. Mr. Morrison, I am Dr. Milrana, supervisor of medical services on this station. We have some concerns about your test results. Yeah, Dr. Zixthar mentioned something about toxins, Jake said. But honestly, I feel great. Maybe your machine just does not work right for humans. That is one possibility we are exploring, Milrana said diplomatically. However, our scanners are designed to work with thousands of different biochemistries. We would like to run some additional tests with your permission. Jake shrugged. Sure, no problem. Whatever you need. For the next hour, Jake was poked, prodded, scanned, and analyzed by every piece of medical equipment on the station. He answered questions about his medical history, his diet, and his daily routine. The doctors spoke quietly among themselves in languages the translator could not handle, gesturing at displays and checking data repeatedly. Finally, Dr. Milrana approached him again. Mr. Morrison, can you tell us what you consumed today before coming here? Sure, Jake said, thinking back. I woke up around 6, had 3 cups of coffee with my breakfast. Made some scrambled eggs, toast, and a couple of sausages. Oh, and I had a protein shake after my workout. Several doctors made alarmed noises. Zixthar was furiously taking notes. 3 cups of coffee? He asked. That would be approximately 900 milligrams of caffeine. Sounds about right, Jake agreed. I like my coffee strong. And this protein shake, Milrana said carefully. What was in it? Jake counted on his fingers. Protein powder, obviously. Some creatine, a multivitamin, fish oil, and I think some amino acids. Oh, and I blended it with milk and a banana. More alarmed noises from the medical team. A small alien that looked like a floating jellyfish actually moved backward. Away from Jake, Mr. Morrison, Zixthar said slowly. Creatine is classified as a performance-enhancing compound that is banned in coalition sports. Fish oil contains omega-3 fatty acids that are toxic to 7 different species. And milk. He checked his datapad. Milk contains lactose, which is a known poison to most adult mammals in the galaxy. Jake stared at him. Are you serious? You guys cannot drink milk? Most species lose the ability to process lactose after infancy, Milrana explained. It is extremely unusual for an adult to continue producing the enzyme needed to digest it. Do you mean to tell me that adult humans can consume milk without becoming sick? Yeah, most of us can, Jake said. I mean, some people are lactose intolerant, but that is pretty rare. Wait, are you telling me that drinking milk makes me weird? Drinking milk as an adult makes you extremely unusual by galactic standards, Milrana said. But that is not our primary concern right now. She pulled up a holographic display showing Jake's blood chemistry. These readings show multiple alkaloids, heavy metals, and synthetic compounds. Can you explain these? Jake leaned forward to look at the display, though the medical terminology meant nothing to him. I do not know what half of that stuff is. Can you be more specific? Zixthar pointed to different sections of the display. This shows residual capsaicin. Did you consume anything spicy recently? Oh yeah, Jake said, his face brightening. I had some hot sauce on my eggs this morning. The station's food synthesizer actually makes pretty decent hot sauce. Not as good as the stuff back home, but not bad. You intentionally consumed capsaicin? Asked the jellyfish alien, its voice bubbling through the translator. The chemical compound that causes a burning pain response? Well, yeah, Jake said, confused by the question. That is what makes it taste good. The medical team exchanged glances that clearly said they thought Jake might be insane. Dr. Milrana cleared her throat. And these readings here show traces of ethanol and its metabolites. Have you consumed alcohol recently? Jake thought about it. I had a couple of beers with some of the crew last night. We were playing poker. I only had 2, maybe 3 beers, though. I was not drunk or anything. You consumed ethanol for recreation? Zixthar asked, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. Ethanol is a solvent. It is used in industrial cleaning and as a fuel source. Yeah, but it is also in beer, Jake said. And wine. And whiskey. We have been drinking alcohol for thousands of years. A doctor that looked like a large insect clicked its mandibles together. Your species voluntarily consumes a corrosive solvent that impairs neural function? When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Jake admitted. But yeah, basically. Dr. Milrana raised a feathered hand to silence the other doctors. Mr. Morrison, do you understand what we are telling you? According to Coalition medical standards, you should have died several times over just from your breakfast this morning, yet you show no signs of distress whatsoever. Jake looked around at all the worried alien faces. So what you are saying is that my normal Tuesday morning routine would kill most of you? Not just kill, Zixthar said quietly. The amount of toxins you have ingested would cause immediate system failure in most species. Painful, rapid death. Jake sat back on the examination table, processing this information. That is really weird. I mean, I knew humans were different, but I did not think we were that different. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Milrana said, her voice very serious. I think we need to have a much longer conversation about human biology, and I think we need to scan every other human on your ship.
Jake Morrison looked at his watch and then back at the assembled medical team.
The confusion on their alien faces would have been funny if they did not all look so genuinely terrified. He scratched his head, trying to figure out how to explain something that seemed so obvious to him. Look, he said, I appreciate the concern, but this is really just a normal day for me. Like completely normal. It is Tuesday. This is what Tuesdays look like. Dr. Zixthar's 4 eyes blinked in that rapid way that Jake had learned meant the Quellen was very confused. You keep mentioning that it is Tuesday. What does the day of the week have to do with your toxic intake? Well, nothing specifically about Tuesday, Jake admitted. I am just saying this is normal. This is what I do every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. This is just my regular routine. The small jellyfish alien made a sound like bubbles popping. You consume lethal doses of toxins every single day? As a routine? They are not lethal to me, Jake pointed out. I mean, obviously, since I am not dead. Coffee is not poison, it is coffee. Hot sauce is not poison, it is delicious. Beer is just something you drink when you want to relax. Dr. Milrana ruffled her feathers and pulled up a chair. Mr. Morrison, I think we need to understand more about your planet. Tell me about Earth, what is it like? Jake shrugged. It is home. I mean, it is a pretty normal planet as far as I know. We have oceans, continents, mountains, forests, all that stuff. Normal planet things in the atmosphere, she prompted. About 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, some other gases mixed in. Several of the doctors made shocked sounds. The insect-like alien's antennae went rigid. 21% oxygen, it said. That is a Class 12 atmosphere. That concentration would cause oxygen toxicity in most species within hours. Jake frowned. Really? What do you guys breathe? Most coalition species thrive in atmospheres with 8 to 12% oxygen, Dr. Milrana explained. 21% is considered dangerously high. Your planet would be classified as a high-oxygen environment. Jake said. I did not know that. Zixthar was frantically taking notes on his datapad. What about your planet's biology? You mentioned consuming eggs and meat products. Are these from domesticated creatures? Yeah, chickens and pigs, Jake confirmed. Pretty standard farm animals back home. And you bred these animals specifically for food? Well, we have been raising them for thousands of years, so yeah. Fascinating, Zixthar muttered. Most coalition species consume synthesized nutrients or cultivated plant matter. Direct consumption of animal tissue is relatively rare. Why? Jake asked. I mean, lots of animals eat other animals. That is just nature, right? The jellyfish alien drifted closer, though still maintaining what Jake suspected was a safe distance. Most predator species in the galaxy are not intelligent enough for space travel. The evolutionary path to intelligence usually favors cooperation and resource management over hunting. Humans did both, Jake said. We hunted, but we also farmed. We fought each other, but we also built cities together. Is that weird? It is not weird, Dr. Milrana said carefully. It is simply uncommon. Very uncommon. Jake thought about this for a moment. So let me get this straight. You guys think humans are strange because we drink coffee, eat meat, and breathe normal air? Air that would poison most of us, Zixthar corrected. And yes, among other things. What other things? The Quellan doctor checked his datapad. Your blood work shows traces of acetaminophen. What is this compound used for? Oh, that is just pain medication, Jake said. I took a couple of pills this morning because I was sore from my workout yesterday. You were in pain? So you consumed a chemical compound to suppress the pain response? Well, yeah. That is what pain medication does. And this workout, Dr. Milrana asked, what does that involve? Just normal exercise. I lifted weights for about an hour. Did some cardio. Nothing too intense. Zixthar looked at the other doctors with an expression Jake could not quite read. You intentionally caused yourself pain through physical exertion, then consumed medication to treat the pain you deliberately inflicted upon yourself? When he put it that way, Jake supposed it did sound a bit odd. I mean, that is how you build muscle. You break down the muscle fibers, they repair themselves, and you get stronger. Everyone knows that. Everyone human, perhaps, the insect alien said. Most species do not deliberately damage their own bodies. Jake was starting to feel defensive. It is not damaging, it is exercise. It is healthy. Humans need to move around and stay active or we get weak and sick. Let me understand this correctly, Dr. Milrana said slowly. If humans do not regularly engage in strenuous physical activity that causes tissue damage and pain, they become ill? Pretty much, yeah. More alarmed looks from the medical team. Jake was getting tired of being stared at like he was some kind of monster. Look, is there something wrong with me or not? Because if I am healthy, I would really like to get some lunch. I'm getting hungry. Dr. Zixthar consulted his datapad again. Actually, Mr. Morrison, I have a question about that. How often do you need to eat? 3 times a day, usually, Jake said. Sometimes I have snacks in between. 3 times per day, Zixthar repeated, making notes. Most coalition species eat once every 2 to 3 days. Your metabolism must be remarkably fast. Is it? Jake had never thought about it before. Your body temperature is also unusually high, the jellyfish alien observed, checking a scanner. 37 degrees Celsius. That would cause a fever in most species. Combined with your high metabolism, this suggests you are essentially running your biological systems at emergency levels constantly. Jake threw up his hands. Okay, I give up. Apparently everything about humans is weird and wrong by your standards. But I am still alive, I still feel fine, and I still want lunch. So can I go, or do you need to run more tests? Dr. Milrana stood up and spoke quietly to the other doctors for a moment. They seemed to reach some kind of agreement. She turned back to Jake. Mr. Morrison, you are free to go. However, we would like to bring in the other humans from your crew for similar testing. We need to understand if what we are seeing is unique to you or common to all humans. It is common to all humans, Jake assured her. I am pretty average, actually. Some people drink way more coffee than me. Some people eat way spicier food. Some people work out harder. I'm just a regular guy. A regular human, perhaps, Zixthar said quietly. But by galactic standards, you are extraordinary. And terrifying. Jake stood up from the examination table. Terrifying? Come on, Doc. I am an engineer. I fix things. I am not scary. You consume dozens of lethal toxins daily and call it breakfast, the Quellan doctor said. You damage your own body for recreation. You live in an atmosphere that would kill most of us. You metabolize poisons that we use as industrial solvents, and you do all of this without even thinking about it. His 4 eyes focused on Jake with an intensity that was unnerving. Yes, Mr. Morrison. From a medical perspective, you are absolutely terrifying. Jake did not know what to say to that. He settled for giving them all an awkward wave. Well, thanks for the checkup. I will send the other crew members your way. As he left the examination room, he could hear the doctors already discussing him in worried tones. Jake shook his head and headed toward the cafeteria. All he wanted was a sandwich and maybe another cup of coffee. Apparently that made him some kind of toxic nightmare by alien standards. It was definitely turning out to be a weird Tuesday. Dr. Milrana watched Jake Morrison leave the examination room and then turned to her medical team. Every one of them looked shaken. Zixthar was still clutching his datapad like it might explode at any moment. The jellyfish alien had drifted to the far corner of the room. Even the normally calm insect doctor was clicking its mandibles nervously. Well, she said finally, that was educational. Educational? Zixthar said, his voice rising. That human is a walking chemical weapons facility. How is his species even alive? Clearly they have adapted to their environment, Milrana said, though she felt just as disturbed as the rest of her team. We need to test the other humans immediately. If Mr. Morrison is typical of his species, we need to completely revise our understanding of human biology. Over the next 3 hours, 5 more humans came through the medical station. Each one produced results that would have sent any other species straight to emergency care. Each one seemed confused about why the doctors were so concerned. Lisa Hayes was the navigator from the venture. She sat on the examination table, swinging her legs and sipping something from a metal container. When Dr. Zixithar asked what she was drinking, she cheerfully explained it was an energy drink with 400 milligrams of caffeine, various B vitamins, and something called taurine. Why do you need energy? Zixithar asked, scanning the drink with his medical scanner and watching it light up with warning symbols. I have got a long shift ahead, Lisa said. This helps me stay alert. You are consuming stimulants to override your body's natural rest signals? I guess so, Lisa said with a shrug. Everyone does it. How else would you stay awake during a double shift? By resting when your body requires it, Zixithar said weakly. Lisa laughed. Yeah, that would be nice. But we have got work to do, you know? Can't sleep through a shift just because I'm tired. Her bloodwork showed different toxins than Jake's, but just as many. The energy drink alone would have put a Quellen into cardiac arrest. She also showed traces of something called acetylsalicylic acid, which she explained was aspirin for her headaches, and multiple compounds from what she called vitamins that her body apparently needed but could not produce on its own. Your body cannot produce its own vitamins? Dr. Milrana asked, fascinated and horrified. Nope, Lisa said cheerfully. We need to get them from food or supplements. Otherwise we get sick. Humans used to die from vitamin deficiency all the time before we figured that out. Your species has nutritional requirements that, if not met, result in death? Does not everyone? Lisa looked genuinely confused. No, Milrana said quietly. Most coalition species can synthesize all necessary compounds internally. We eat for energy, not for specific molecular components. Huh, Lisa said. That must be nice. Pete Johnson was next. He was a security officer, tall and heavily muscled with a broad smile and an easy manner. His blood work made Dr. Zixithar's hands shake. The toxin count was even higher than Jake's. Mr. Johnson, Zixithar said carefully, your blood contains traces of something called capsaicin at levels that would be lethal to most species. Can you explain this? Oh yeah, I did the hot wing challenge at lunch yesterday, Pete said proudly. Ate 20 wings with extra hot sauce. Won 50 credits off Martinez. You consume this capsaicin intentionally? For entertainment? Well, yeah, it was a challenge. Plus, the wings were really good. Zixithar pulled up another reading. And these compounds here, creatine, protein derivatives, multiple amino acid chains, and something called beta-alanine. What are these? Pre-workout supplements, Pete explained. I take them before I hit the gym. Helps me lift heavier. You are already lifting heavy objects that cause muscle damage. These compounds make you lift even heavier objects? That is the idea, Pete agreed. Got to push yourself if you want to get stronger. Dr. Milrana interrupted the examination. Mr. Johnson, your muscle mass is significantly higher than the average human we have scanned. Is this normal? Pete looked down at himself. I work out a lot. Maybe a bit more than average, but nothing crazy. There are guys way bigger than me back home. You are telling me that humans can become even larger and more muscled than you are? Oh yeah. Professional bodybuilders are way bigger. I am just a regular guy who likes to stay in shape. After Pete left, Dr. Milrana called an emergency meeting with the senior medical staff of Harmony Prime. They gathered in the conference room and she displayed the collective data from all 6 humans they had tested. This is impossible, said Dr. Ventari, a Kreller physician with gray skin and wise eyes. These readings suggest that humans exist in a constant state of chemical warfare with their own environment. Not warfare, Milrana corrected. Adaptation. These humans do not see these compounds as toxins because their bodies have evolved to process them. To them, this is normal. But look at this oxygen requirement, Ventari argued, pointing to the data. 21% oxygen. That is a Class 12 atmosphere. Their planet should be classified as a death world. Perhaps it is, said Dr. Krill, the insect physician. Consider what we have learned. High oxygen content, extreme biodiversity, predator species that achieved intelligence, the consumption of other animals as food, regular intake of alkaloids and toxins. Their own plants produce chemical defenses and humans simply develop tolerances to them. Their planet is trying to kill them, Zixthar said quietly, and they just adapted to it. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this. Finally, Dr. Milrana spoke. We need to inform the Coalition Council. Humanity's acceptance into the Coalition may need to be reviewed with this new information. Why? Asked Zixthar. They are not dangerous to us. They seem perfectly friendly. They are not intentionally dangerous, Milrana agreed. But imagine what happens when other species learn about this. The Vryn will be terrified. They are a peaceful herbivore species that has never encountered a predator species with intelligence. The Kreller Empire prides itself on military strength. And suddenly here is a species that is toxic by nature and apparently indestructible. We are not indestructible, said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Commander Lisa Brennan, the captain of the Venture, standing in the entrance. Sorry to interrupt, but Dr. Zixthar's emergency alert pinged our ship. I came to see what the problem was. Dr. Milrana stood. Commander Brennan, we were just discussing the medical examination results of your crew. The results that say we are all full of poison? Lisa Brennan said with a slight smile. Yeah, Jake told me about that. Look, I understand this is concerning for you, but from our perspective, this is just normal human biology. We are not trying to be scary or dangerous. We understand that, Milrana assured her. But you must understand our position. We have never encountered a species quite like yours. Your biology is unique in the Coalition. So what happens now? Commander Brennan asked. Now, Milrana said, we try to understand you better. We need to study human biology more thoroughly. We need to know what you can and cannot tolerate, what is safe for you to consume, what environments you can survive in. For your safety and for ours. Commander Brennan nodded slowly. That seems reasonable. We want to be good members of the Coalition. We will cooperate fully with any testing you need. Thank you, Commander, Milrana said. Though I must warn you, the other Coalition species may react strongly to this information. Let them react, Brennan said firmly. Humans did not come out here to hide what we are. We are just people trying to find our place in the galaxy. If that means we are a bit weird by your standards, well, we can live with that. As Commander Brennan left, Dr. Zixthar turned to his supervisor. She is right, you know. They are just people. Strange, toxic, terrifying people, but still people. I know, Milrana said quietly. That is what worries me. The news spread through Harmony Prime Station like water through a cracked dam. Within 6 hours of the first human medical examination, every species on the station had heard about the toxic newcomers. By the end of the day, the story had reached 36 Coalition worlds. By the end of the week, it was the most discussed topic in the entire Galactic Coalition. Jake Morrison discovered this when he tried to get lunch at the station cafeteria. The moment he walked through the door, every conversation stopped. Dozens of aliens turned to stare at him. A small Vryn server dropped the tray she was carrying and it clattered loudly against the floor. Hi, Jake said, giving everyone an awkward wave. Just here for some food. The Vryn server, a creature that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a deer, backed away from him with her large eyes wide with fear. You are one of the humans, she said, her voice shaking through the translator. Yeah, that is me. Human. Just a regular guy looking for lunch. They say you are full of poison, another voice said. Jake turned to see a Sivian, tall and thin with gray skin and huge black eyes. They say your blood would kill us if we touched it. That is not really how it works, Jake said, trying to sound reassuring. I am not going to poison anyone. I am just hungry. But the damage was done. Half the cafeteria had already cleared out, aliens hurrying away from him as if he might explode at any moment. The ones who stayed watched him with expressions ranging from fear to fascination. Jake sighed, grabbed a synthesized sandwich that hopefully would not cause another medical emergency, and found a table in the corner by himself. He had just taken his first bite when someone sat down across from him. Jake looked up to see a Kreller warrior, easily 7 feet tall with dark gray skin and the kind of muscles that suggested he could break Jake in half without trying. The warrior was staring at him with intense curiosity. "You are the human that Dr. Zixthar tested," the Kreller said. It was not a question. "Yeah," Jake said warily. "Jake Morrison, engineer." "I am Krell," the warrior said. "I serve in the Coalition Defense Force. Tell me, is it true that your species evolved as hunters?" Jake was not sure where this was going, but he answered honestly. "Yeah, humans are omnivores. We hunted and gathered, did both for thousands of years before we developed farming." Krell leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "And you still maintain this predator biology? The quick reflexes? The forward-facing eyes for tracking prey? The endurance for long chases?" "I guess so," Jake said. "I never really thought about it that way." "Fascinating," Krell said, and to Jake's surprise the warrior smiled. "The Kreller Empire has been the dominant military force in this sector for 300 cycles. We pride ourselves on our strength and combat abilities, but we evolved as herbivores who learned to fight. You humans evolved as predators. I wonder how that difference would show in battle." Jake held up his hands. "Whoa, I am not looking to fight anyone. I fix engines and work on ship systems. That is my job." "Of course," Krell said, but his smile did not fade. "Still, it is interesting to meet a species that might actually present a challenge. The galaxy has been peaceful for too long. It makes warriors soft." After Krell left, Jake sat alone again, feeling distinctly uncomfortable with the entire conversation. He finished his sandwich quickly and headed back to the venture, glad to be among his own crew again. Meanwhile, in the Coalition Council chambers on the capital world of Zentara Prime, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from 50 different species gathered in the massive circular room, each seated at their designated position. The holographic display in the center showed the medical data from the human examinations, and the room was filled with worried chatter. Ambassador Telshara of the Vryn stood at her podium, her small frame shaking slightly. "Esteemed council members," she said, her voice amplified through the chamber, "I must formally object to the continued integration of the human species into Coalition space. The medical evidence shows that they are biologically toxic to most of our member species." "The humans have shown no hostile intent," countered Ambassador Vex of the Sivians. "Their toxicity is natural, not weaponized. Should we discriminate against a species simply because their biology differs from ours? This goes beyond simple biological differences," Telshara argued. "These creatures consume poisons for recreation. They damage their own bodies intentionally. They evolved in an environment so hostile that they had to develop resistance to dozens of lethal compounds just to survive. What does this say about their psychology? About their decision-making?" "It says they are survivors," said Ambassador Krell of the Kreller Empire. "It says they are tough, adaptable, and resilient. These are admirable qualities. The Coalition could benefit from such strength. Or the Coalition could be endangered by it," Telshara said. "We know nothing about how humans might react in a crisis situation. Species that evolved in such hostile environments often carry that violence with them." The debate continued for hours. Some species sided with the Vryn, arguing that humans were too dangerous and unpredictable to be trusted. Others saw humanity as a valuable addition to the Coalition, bringing unique capabilities and perspectives. The council was deeply divided. Back on Harmony Prime, Dr. Zixthar was conducting another examination, this time with a human named Danny Chen. Danny was a biologist, and unlike the other humans, he seemed genuinely interested in understanding the alien perspective on human biology. "So, you are telling me that most species cannot eat tomatoes?" Danny asked, fascinated. "Tomatoes contain alkaloids that are toxic to most life," Zixthar explained. "They are part of a plant family that produces these compounds as a defense mechanism." "The nightshade family," Danny said, nodding. "Yeah, we know they are poisonous. That is why we only eat the fruit, not the leaves. But humans can eat potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant just fine. We have been eating them for thousands of years." "Your species domesticated poisonous plants?" Zixthar said, his 4 eyes widening. We domesticated lots of poisonous plants, Danny said cheerfully. Cassava has cyanide in it, but we learned how to process it safely. Kidney beans are toxic if you do not cook them right, but cooked they are fine. Even apple seeds have cyanide, though you would have to eat a lot of them to get sick. This is horrifying, Zixthar muttered, taking notes. Your entire food culture is based on consuming things that should kill you. I guess so, Danny said. But it worked out pretty well for us. We developed agriculture, civilization, all of that. Can't argue with results. No, Zixthar agreed quietly. I suppose not. The revelation about human biology had another unexpected effect. Scientists throughout the coalition suddenly became intensely interested in studying Earth and its ecosystems. Research vessels began making their way toward human space. Eager to see the death world that had produced such an unusual species, Dr. Theron, a Sivian xenobiologist, arrived at Harmony Prime with a full research team. He was a thin, scholarly figure with the characteristic large eyes of his species, and he practically vibrated with excitement. I must speak with every human on this station, he told Dr. Milrana. I need detailed information about Earth's biosphere, evolutionary history, and ecological systems. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The humans are cooperating fully, Milrana assured him, though I think they find our fascination with them somewhat bewildering. They do not understand how remarkable they are, Theron said, pulling up a holographic display of Earth. Look at this planet. 21% oxygen, extreme temperature variations, multiple climate zones, thousands of predator species, poisonous plants and animals everywhere, active volcanism, frequent asteroid impacts. This is not a garden world, Doctor. This is a forge that hammers life into the toughest possible form. And humanity is the result, Milrana said. Yes, Theron said, his eyes glowing with academic fervor. Humanity is what happens when evolution has no choice but to create something that can survive anything. They are not just adapted to their environment, they have become masters of it. They are the apex predator of a death world. Should that concern us? Milrana asked. Theron considered this carefully. Perhaps, but it should also amaze us. Humanity represents something we have never seen before in the Coalition, a species that conquered a hostile world not through technology, but through pure biological resilience. Once they added technology to that foundation, they became unstoppable. On Earth, news of the galactic reaction had finally reached the human government. Emergency meetings were held in every major capital. Some humans were offended by being called toxic and dangerous. Others found it hilarious. Social media was flooded with jokes about humans being space orcs, but in the halls of power people were worried. Humanity's place in the galaxy suddenly seemed very uncertain. Dr. Theron set up his research lab in an empty section of Harmony Prime, filling it with holographic displays, biological scanners, and data terminals. Over the next 2 weeks, every human on the station spent time being interviewed, scanned, and questioned about life on Earth. Jake Morrison found himself back in the lab for the 3rd time, answering yet another round of questions. Tell me about your childhood, Dr. Theron said, his large black eyes fixed on Jake with intense focus. What was it like growing up on Earth? Jake shrugged. Pretty normal, I guess. I grew up in Seattle. Went to school, played with friends, did the usual kid stuff. Did you encounter dangerous animals? Not really. I mean, there were some dogs in the neighborhood that were kind of mean, and we had to watch out for wasps in the summer. Oh, and one time a black widow spider got into our garage, but my dad took care of it. Dr. Theron made rapid notes on his datapad. A venomous arachnid in your home. How did your family react? My dad got a jar and caught it, then let it go outside away from the house. It was not a big deal. Not a big deal, Theron repeated slowly. Mr. Morrison, a black widow spider's venom contains latrotoxin, which causes massive neurotransmitter release. A single bite could kill most coalition species within minutes. Your father captured this creature with his bare hands? Well, he used a jar, Jake said. But yeah, it was just a spider. You do not kill them unless you have to. They eat bugs. Theron sat back, processing this. Let me understand. On Earth, venomous creatures live in close proximity to humans, and you simply tolerate their presence because they serve a useful purpose? Pretty much. I mean, we try to keep them out of the house, but you cannot kill every spider you see. There are too many of them. How many venomous species exist on Earth? Jake thought about it. I do not know exactly. Thousands, probably. We have got venomous snakes, spiders, scorpions, some lizards, jellyfish, octopi, fish, insects, and probably a bunch of other things I am forgetting. Theron's hands shook slightly as he made notes. Thousands of venomous species, and humans learned to live among them. Or eat them, Jake added. People eat octopus and some kinds of fish that are poisonous if you do not prepare them right. Eat them, Theron whispered. Of course you eat them. The xenobiologist pulled up a holographic display of Earth's evolutionary tree. Mr. Morrison, I want to show you something. This is a comparison between Earth's biodiversity and that of a typical garden world like my home planet Sivia. The display split into two sections. One showed a complex, densely branched tree with thousands of interconnected lines. The other showed a much simpler structure with fewer branches. Earth has approximately 8 million species, Theron explained. Sivia has approximately 200,000. Earth's extinction rate is also dramatically higher. Species on your planet are in constant competition for resources and survival. This creates what we call evolutionary pressure. Survival of the fittest, Jake said. Exactly. But the pressure on Earth is not just high, it is extreme. Your planet has experienced 5 major mass extinction events. Each time life had to rebuild itself from the survivors. The species that exist on Earth today are descended from the ones that survived multiple apocalypses. Jake looked at the complex tree representing Earth life. I never thought about it that way. Few humans do, Theron said. Because to you this is normal. You see a world full of life and think it is peaceful. But from a galactic perspective, Earth is a battlefield where every species is armed with chemical, biological, or physical weapons. Humanity won that battle. Over the following days, Theron interviewed more humans and compiled an extensive report on Earth's biosphere. He learned about human agriculture and how humans had domesticated dangerous animals like cattle and horses, creatures that could easily kill a person if they wanted to. He learned about human history and the constant warfare between human tribes and nations. He learned about Earth's weather systems and how humans had adapted to live everywhere from frozen tundra to burning deserts, but what fascinated him most was human food culture. You must understand, he told Dr. Milrana during a presentation to the medical staff. Human cuisine is essentially a catalog of Earth's most successful chemical defenses, all of which humans learn to overcome or tolerate. He pulled up a holographic display showing various Earth foods. Capsaicin in peppers, allylisothiaconate in mustard and wasabi, piperine in black pepper, gingerol in ginger, allicin in garlic. These are all defense compounds that evolved to prevent animals from eating these plants. Humans tasted them, found them painful, and decided that pain was delicious. Dr. Zixthar raised a hand. But why? Why would humans choose to consume something that causes pain? We believe it relates to something called novelty-seeking behavior, Theron explained. Humans have unusually high levels of curiosity and risk-taking. They tried everything on their planet at least once, including things that were poisonous. The ones who survived passed on their tolerance to their children. Over thousands of generations, humans developed an incredibly diverse palate. They ate their way through their planet's chemical defenses, Milrana said quietly. Precisely. And when they ran out of spicy or bitter foods, they invented fermentation to create new flavors. Alcohol, cheese, yogurt, pickles, soy sauce, and hundreds of other fermented foods. All of them involve controlled decomposition and bacterial growth, processes that would horrify most species. Another slide appeared showing human beverages. Coffee and tea contain caffeine, a pesticide. Chocolate contains theobromine, another toxin. Alcohol is a solvent that impairs brain function. Humans consume all of these daily, often multiple times per day, purely for enjoyment. A young Quellan medical student spoke up. Dr. Theron, are you saying that humans are addicted to toxins? Not addicted in the clinical sense, Theron said. Though many humans do develop dependencies on caffeine and other stimulants. Rather, humans have normalized the consumption of compounds that alter their neurochemistry. They do this so regularly that they do not even perceive it as unusual. Jake Morrison, who was sitting in on the presentation, raised his hand. Can I say something? Of course, Mr. Morrison, Jake stood up. Look, I get that all of this sounds crazy from your perspective, but you have to understand, humans did not choose to be this way. This is just what evolution did to us. Earth is our home. We adapted to it because that is what life does. It adapts. No one is criticizing humanity, Theron said gently. We are simply trying to understand you. I know, Jake said. But I also want you to understand that we are not dangerous. We are not going to hurt anyone. We just want to be part of the galaxy, to learn and explore and be good neighbors. The fact that we can drink coffee without dying does not make us monsters. We do not think you are monsters, Dr. Milrana said, though I will admit many of us find your biology alarming. Can I ask you something? Jake said, looking around at all the alien faces. What about your homeworlds? Do you not have dangerous animals or poisonous plants? Some, Dr. Zixthar admitted. But they are rare and easily avoided. Sivia has perhaps a dozen venomous species total. Quellos has even fewer. Earth has thousands, Jake said. Tens of thousands if you count plants. But we did not let that stop us. We learned, we adapted, and we thrived. Maybe that makes us unusual. But it also makes us survivors. Is not that valuable? Theron nodded slowly. Yes, Mr. Morrison, it is very valuable. In fact, your resilience may be exactly what the Coalition needs. Done, what do you mean? Milrana asked. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Theron said. We have built our civilization in the safe zones, the garden worlds where life is easy and pleasant. But there are entire regions of space that remain unexplored, because the conditions are too hostile for Coalition species. Worlds with high oxygen, extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, dangerous radiation. We cannot go there. But humans could, Jake said slowly. Exactly. Humans evolved for survival in extreme conditions. You are built for it. The places that would kill us might be merely uncomfortable for you. Dr. Milrana looked at the data on the displays with new understanding. We have been looking at this all wrong. We have been treating human biology as a problem. But it is actually a solution. A solution to what? Jake asked. To expansion, Theron said. The Coalition has reached the limits of where we can safely colonize. But humanity has no such limits. You are Deathworlders. You can go anywhere. Jake sat down heavily processing this. He had come into space thinking humans would be the underdogs, the newcomers learning from the advanced alien civilizations. But maybe it was not that simple. Maybe humans brought something to the galaxy that no one else had, the ability to survive anything. 3 weeks after the human medical examination sent shockwaves through the Coalition, Jake Morrison was sitting in the Ventures common room playing cards with Pete Johnson and Lisa Hayes. They had settled into a comfortable routine on Harmony Prime, and the initial panic about human toxicity had faded into cautious curiosity. Some aliens still avoided them, but others had started asking questions about Earth and human culture. Jake was about to win his third hand in a row when the station-wide alarm began blaring. The lights shifted to emergency red and Commander Lisa Brennan's voice came over the intercom. All crew to stations. We have an emergency situation. I repeat, all crew to stations. The 3 humans dropped their cards and ran for the bridge. When they arrived, they found Brennan standing at the main console, her face grim as she studied a holographic display of the local sector. What is happening? Jake asked. Outpost 7, Brennan said, pointing to a flashing red dot on the display. Mining station about 6 light years from here. They had a collision with an asteroid cluster 20 minutes ago. The impact breached their storage facility and released a mixture of mining chemicals into the station atmosphere. Can they evacuate? Lisa Hayes asked. No, the contamination spread too fast. All 247 people on that station are trapped. Brennan pulled up another display showing atmospheric readings. The chemical mixture is lethal to every Coalition species. They have maybe 72 hours of air in the sealed sections, but that is it. What about rescue ships? Pete asked. 3 ships are already en route, but they cannot approach. The toxic cloud around the station would kill any crew that tried to dock. They are working on remote solutions, but the atmospheric processors need hands-on repair, and the survivors need to be physically evacuated. Jake studied the atmospheric analysis, his engineering training kicking in. The mixture was bad. Chlorine gas, ammonia compounds, sulfur dioxide, various hydrocarbons, and a dozen other nasty chemicals. It would be agonizing for most species, but something about the composition looked familiar. Commander, Jake said slowly. What is the oxygen concentration in that contaminated atmosphere? Brennan checked. 18%. Why? And the temperature? 42 degrees Celsius in most sections. Jake looked at Pete and Lisa. They were both thinking the same thing. Commander, I think humans could survive in that environment. Brennan turned to stare at him. What? Look at this composition, Jake said, pointing to the analysis. Yeah, it is bad, but it is not that different from industrial accidents we have had on Earth. High heat, toxic gases, low oxygen. Humans have worked in conditions like this before. Not comfortably, but we can do it. Jake, that atmosphere would cause chemical burns to most species within minutes, Brennan said. To most species, Lisa Hayes agreed, but we have been learning a lot about how different humans are. Our eyes can handle more irritation, our lungs are more resilient, our skin is tougher, and we heal faster than most aliens. You are talking about walking into a toxic cloud, Brennan said. With proper equipment, yes, Jake said. Breathing apparatus to filter out the worst of it, protective suits for the chemicals we cannot handle, and regular medical monitoring. But I think we could do it, Pete nodded. The temperature is well within human tolerance. 42 Celsius is hot but not deadly, and 18% oxygen is low but manageable for short-term work. We would be slower, get tired faster, but we could function. Brennan was quiet for a long moment, clearly struggling with the decision. Finally, she opened a communication channel to Coalition Command. Admiral Vex's face appeared on the screen, his Sivian features tight with stress. Commander Brennan, he said. I assume you have heard about Outpost 7? Yes, Admiral. And I think we may have a solution. She explained the human proposal. Admiral Vex listened, his large eyes growing wider. When she finished, he was silent for several seconds. Commander, you are proposing to send your crew into an environment that our medical experts say is absolutely lethal. Not lethal to humans, sir, Brennan said. We have done the analysis. It will be difficult and dangerous, but survivable. Based on what evidence? Based on the evidence that humans regularly consume and process chemicals that are deadly to other species, Brennan said firmly. Based on the evidence that human biology is significantly more resilient than Coalition standard. Based on the evidence that we evolved on a world where surviving hostile environments was a daily requirement. Admiral Vex looked at someone off-screen, probably medical staff. Jake could hear muffled conversation. Finally, the Admiral turned back to the screen. Dr. Zixthar and Dr. Theron have reviewed the atmospheric data, he said slowly. They agree that humans have a higher probability of survival than any other Coalition species. They estimate a 70% chance that properly equipped humans could operate in that environment for limited periods. Then let us try. Sir, Brennan said. If we do this, Commander, you understand that you will be risking your crew on what amounts to an experimental theory about human resilience? I understand, sir. But 247 people are going to die if we do nothing. Admiral Vex nodded. Very well. You have authorization to attempt the rescue. May the ancestors watch over you. The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. Dr. Zixthar worked with the human crew to modify emergency breathing apparatus for their use. Dr. Theron provided detailed analysis of which chemicals would be most dangerous and how to minimize exposure. The Coalition engineers modified hazard suits to fit human proportions and added extra chemical resistance. Jake, Pete, and Lisa volunteered immediately. Commander Brennan wanted to go as well, but Jake convinced her that the ship needed its captain. 2 other humans from the Venture's crew stepped forward. Danny Chen, the biologist who had been helping with Dr. Theron's research, and Rachel Martinez, a rescue specialist. They gathered in the Venture's cargo bay, suiting up and running final equipment checks. Jake could feel his heart pounding, but his hands were steady. This was what he had trained for as an engineer, solving problems that seemed impossible. Dr. Zixthar came to see them off. All 4 of his eyes looked worried, but he managed a gesture that the humans had learned was a Quellan salute. You are either the bravest beings I have ever met, or the most foolish, he said. I have not decided which. Can it be both? Jake asked with a grin. I suppose it can, Zixthar said. Please come back alive. I would very much like to study how you survive this. That is the plan. Doc, the Venture approached Outpost 7 carefully, sensors reading the toxic cloud that surrounded the station like a sickly yellow fog. Through the view screen, Jake could see the damage. A section of the outer hull was torn open, and chemicals were still venting into space. Atmospheric readings confirm, Commander Brennan said. 18% oxygen, 42 degrees Celsius, multiple toxic compounds. Life support in the sealed sections is holding, but they only have about 60 hours left now. Then we better get moving, Jake said. The 5 humans moved to the airlock. They wore modified hazard suits with reinforced breathing filters and chemical-resistant outer layers. Each carried a toolkit for repairs and a medical scanner to monitor their own vital signs. The plan was simple: dock with the station, repair the atmospheric processors to clear the toxic cloud, then evacuate the survivors. Remember, Dr. Milrana's voice came through their communicators. You will need to take breaks every 30 minutes to rest and check for chemical exposure. If anyone shows signs of serious distress, abort immediately. Understood, Jake said. The airlock cycled open, and they stepped into hell. The atmosphere hit Jake like a physical blow. Even through the suit filters, he could smell the acrid tang of chemicals. His eyes watered immediately, and he felt the heat wrap around him like a suffocating blanket. But he was still standing, still breathing, still alive. Status check, Commander Brennan's voice said in his ear. I am good, Jake said, his voice slightly hoarse. Hot and smelly, but functional. Same, Pete confirmed. The others checked in one by one. The atmospheric processor is 3 sections forward, Brennan said. Scans show the damage is extensive but repairable. Jake led the team forward, moving carefully through the contaminated station. The metal walls were discolored from chemical exposure, and in some places he could see where the toxic mixture had actually eaten through paint and sealant. No wonder the coalition species could not survive here. This environment was genuinely hostile. But Jake had worked in chemical plants on Earth. He had seen industrial accidents before. This was worse than most, but it was not outside his experience. He focused on the task, checking corridors, navigating around damaged sections, and keeping his team together. They reached the atmospheric processor to find it badly damaged. Chemical corrosion had destroyed several key components, and the main power coupling was completely burned out. We need to replace this entire section, Jake said, examining the damage. It is going to take at least 4 hours of work. Then we better get started, Danny said. They worked in shifts, 30 minutes on, and 15 minutes in a less contaminated section for rest. The heat was brutal. The chemicals burned their eyes and throats even through the filters. But they kept working, replacing components, rewiring systems, and slowly bringing the evacuation of Outpost 7 took another 6 hours. Jake and his team worked through pain and exhaustion, helping the 247 survivors into escape pods and coordinating with rescue ships that could now safely approach as the atmospheric contamination cleared. Every single person was saved. By the time they returned to the venture, Jake could barely stand. His eyes were red and swollen. His throat felt like he had swallowed broken glass. Every muscle in his body screamed in protest. Dr. Zixthar took one look at him and immediately started running medical scans. Your chemical exposure levels are dangerously high, the Quellan doctor said, his 4 eyes wide with concern. You should be in critical condition. How am I doing compared to humans who survived industrial accidents on Earth? Jake asked, his voice a rough whisper. Zixthar checked his database. You are within normal parameters for acute chemical exposure in humans, which means you are experiencing significant pain and tissue damage but nothing life-threatening. You will recover fully in approximately 5 to 7 days. See? Jake said with a weak smile. Just another Tuesday. Except it is Friday, Zixthar said dryly. And you just accomplished something that every other species in the galaxy considers impossible. Word of the rescue spread even faster than the original news about human toxicity had. Within hours, every major news network in the coalition was reporting on the incredible story of 5 humans who had walked into a toxic hell and saved 247 lives. The survivors themselves were giving interviews, describing the moment they saw the humans come through the contaminated sections like it was nothing. They just walked through the poison, said Vryn Minor, her voice full of wonder. I watched them on the security monitors, the atmosphere that killed 3 of my friends in minutes, and these humans just walked through it like it was a minor inconvenience. The tall one, Pete, he carried my colleague to safety, said a Kreller engineer. My colleague weighs over 200 kilograms, and this human just lifted him up and carried him like he weighed nothing. They saved us all, said the station commander, a Civian named Relthar. When we thought we were going to die, they came. I will never forget it. The Coalition Council held another emergency session, but this time the tone was very different. Ambassador Telshara of the Vryn stood at her podium, and instead of fear in her voice there was respect. "I was wrong," she said simply. "I called humans dangerous. I said their toxicity made them unsuitable for the coalition. But what I failed to understand is that danger can be directed. Those 5 humans risked their lives to save people they had never met, from species they barely knew. That is not dangerous. That is heroic." Ambassador Krell of the Kreller Empire stood next. "The Kreller have prided ourselves on being the strongest warriors in the galaxy. But strength is not just about combat ability. It is about resilience, determination, and the willingness to face impossible odds. Humans have shown all of these qualities. We would be honored to call them allies." Even the cautious Sivian ambassador spoke in favor of humanity. "Dr. Theron's research has shown us that humans represent a unique opportunity for the coalition. They can go where we cannot. They can survive what would kill us. But more than that, they have shown that they will use these abilities not for conquest or dominance, but to help others. This is precisely the kind of species we need." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was not just accepted into the Galactic Coalition. They were welcomed. Back on Harmony Prime, Jake was released from medical care after 4 days of recovery. His throat still hurt a bit and he had some chemical burns that were healing slowly. But overall, he felt pretty good. He found himself something of a celebrity on the station. Aliens who had previously avoided him now approached to thank him or ask for his story. A young Vryn came up to him in the cafeteria, her large eyes nervous but determined. "Excuse me, Mr. Morrison, I wanted to apologize. I was the server who dropped the tray when you first came in here. I was afraid of you."